Happy Monday, Bears fans, and welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend as training camp rolls along. The first padded practice was in the books, or is in the books, took place earlier today. Did a full video on that, so be sure to check that out after today's live show. But Luther Burden back out there in some capacity. Good to see that. So a lot to discuss here on today's live show. We'll take a look at some early training camp winners and losers. We'll take your questions, and we'll do kind of a Caleb Williams-centric segment. A lot flying around. Some quotes from Ben Johnson and Declan Doyle. Albert Breer had some reporting, and then Dan Orlovsky had an interesting note on that as well. So busy show today. Cullen, how was your weekend? Back in the saddle today, closer to some preseason football?
Yeah, football is almost back. And again, depending on what you define by back, that's a whole nother discussion. But, man, it was a good weekend, a little chill weekend. Definitely was paying attention around the league, some NFL action and, around training camp. And listen, I mean, the Bears got some great news this morning. Luther Burden officially back in the fold here, getting some reps in. And, look, I mean, this is, we were talking about it on last Thursday's show about the direction, the Bears were heading in training camp, specifically the offense. And at what point was it that, we needed to start worrying, if at all, given training camp and how things started. And they've kind of had some really good days kind of back to back here. So,
yeah, last couple days have been better. Today was more of a run game emphasis day. So, look, I think it's going to be a process. When we get to that Caleb segment today, I think, there's certainly some perspective to be had there, both from people outside the building and inside the building of what they're throwing at him, where he's at right now. So, I do think some patience is going to continue to be required here when it comes to the offense and to Caleb Williams. We got, Noel from Austin, Texas. Shout out to Coach Kramer in Lewiston, Maine. Stephen in Roanoke. We got Graham and York. Shout out to Cameron in Ozark, Missouri. One of my favorite shows, Ozark. Seen Ozark, Colin?
Well, I've seen a couple episodes, but I've heard it's a really good show.
It's fantastic.
I've heard it's a really good show.
It's good stuff. Okay, we got Levante Rogers.
Yep.
Shout out to Levante. He says, "Go Bears, go Luther Burden III, and bye to the retractors." Hopefully so. Hopefully it's all good vibes from here. His talent and potential are fantastic, and now it's about stacking days, getting reps. He did individual work today, didn't do team drills, so it's a ramping up period. But hopefully he's on track to do more and more as the week goes on, and then by the end of this week, next week, hopefully he's full throttle. So definitely excited to see him on the practice field and hoping he can have a notable role this year. That would definitely be exciting if that were to happen. We've seen Colston Loveland already a couple of big-time practices, it sounds like. So it shouldn't take Luther too long to get involved. So it's kind of up to him at this point. How confident are you guys in Luther Burden, scale of 1 to 10? The talent is obvious in terms of building that trust and believing that he can be a playmaker this season. I think we obviously still have to see a lot more. We're early on in the process, but if he can get out there and stay healthy, Colin, his skill set should fit in well in this offense.
Yeah, the main thing in terms of pressure, right, was obviously to get healthy and get on the field because obviously you want him to contribute as somebody they picked in the second round. And look, I mean, the Bears have so many weapons on the offensive end that, even production, if it's not the greatest for Luther Burden, no one's really going to sweat much, again, because of the plethora of options that Caleb Williams has at his disposal. But in terms of confidence, I do feel a lot better now than I did last Thursday, for example. But yeah, I mean, it's slowly rising. If I had to grade it right now, I'd probably say if we're asking this question of week one slot wide receiver starter, I'd probably give it around like a 5 or 6 just because I know he has the ability to, but he simply just hasn't been out there yet. But I'm assuming that number.
Yeah, like if they played a game this Sunday, for example, I would guess Olamide Zaccheaus has a larger snap count than
as he should.
Now, by week one, that could completely flip. Obviously, there's a lot of time between now and then. Burden certainly has more physical tools than Olamide Zaccheaus, certainly has more upside. So It's about going out there, getting these reps, being someone Ben Johnson can trust to put on the field, know the plays, and know what he needs to do to get open for Caleb Williams. So, the good news is it's not even August yet. He's back out there. So, hopefully all positive signs from here, as still plenty of time before week 1. And he's a guy too, Colin, where we'll see how much Ben Johnson plays some of the starters, but whether or not Burden is a quote unquote starter or not, that's a guy I would play a lot in the preseason. Like I would
Yes.
put him out there a lot. I'd play him with the ones. I'd play him some with both of the other quarterbacks as well, Case Keenum and Tyson Bagent. So I just think that's a guy that even if he is a quote unquote starter, like you could still and probably should play him a lot in the preseason. I think that's a way to kind of make up for reps lost, if nothing else, by putting him in those preseason games.
Yeah, help mitigate, obviously, the kind of slow, or not even really slow, but delayed start so much to his kind of training camp / OTA work. And no, I 100% agree with you. I think he's going to be somebody where, before he gets out there, if he is going to be your wide receiver 3, you need to have full confidence in him in terms of being able to execute the offense, know the route concepts, and be on the same page with Caleb Williams. So, yeah, 100% agree. He's a guy that I'm looking forward to that, when we do those preseason games, make sure you all subscribe because we will be live for every single Bears preseason game. I expect him to probably play, well into, the first quarter, second quarter, maybe all the way to halftime. So,
yeah, I mean, I would play him, I don't know, at least, I don't know, somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5 quarters in all 3 of these games. I mean, if after the second preseason game, it's like, okay, like he's clearly going to be a notable part of this offense and you want to scale him back for the last one, especially on shorter week rest, like, okay, that's fine. But like in these first couple games, I would be playing him a lot and throwing a lot on his plate. So, definitely excited to see what they plan to do with him in that regard. Couple super chats flying in, and then we'll kind of get this show rolling as we got a lot to get into here. As
we got Jay saying, and we're waiting for this to load. Jay asked, "What's your take on Dan Orlovsky saying it'll take Caleb years to learn and be good in Ben Johnson's offense?"
I think there's context there, Jay. We're actually going to talk about that in that Caleb Williams segment toward the end of the show, like I mentioned, so I don't want to spoil it all here. But I more took it as, and I'm curious to know if you agree with me, Colin, I think he more meant like it's going to take years for him to master the offense and really be a next level pocket passer in the NFL in terms of playing on time, because that wasn't really his top strengths coming out. And last year there wasn't really help in development in that regard. Even Jared Goff, which we'll kind of outline too, his first year in Ben Johnson's offense in 2022, it even took him about half the season to really kind of get going there and get comfortable. And that was a guy who had success in the league with Sean McVay for a while, obviously going back to LA. So, yeah, I think there's context there to what he said. I don't think he was saying that Caleb can't have a good year this year. I think he was saying if you think he's just going to hit the ground running week 1 and just take over the league this year, then you're probably being unreasonable, which is probably a fair take.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, there's some long shot bets being placed on Caleb Williams to be the league's MVP this year. And, look, I mean, if all for fandom and everything, but at the end of the day, this is one day at a time. This is a quarterback that, did have his ups and downs throughout last season, who is, going through his now second offensive play caller, second new head coach in his young career, and there's going to be time to take adjustments. And I don't think Orlovsky was saying he'll never reach that, he'll never reach his ceiling, but ultimately, it is going to take, time in order to grow and become, the full potential. Because while there was a few things, as you pointed out, that Caleb, strived in last year, there's things that he needs to improve on. And Caleb's been, well acknowledged of that. And I didn't take it as a slight by Orlovsky either. Orlovsky's very, technical, and he's very, breaks everything down to its nuance. And I didn't really take it as a shot. It was more or less hey, listen, there's steps, there's levels to this, and Caleb's, a few steps away from being
and this offense in particular, and we've heard a lot, this is not a simple offense, and they'll probably, and we'll get into this as well, then I'll leave it here for now. Toward the end of camp and before they shift into game 1 prep, they'll probably scale it down based on what they threw at him and say, okay, he's good at X, Y, and Z, he's not so good at A, B, and C. We'll kind of shelf that for now and try to add that as we go, either later in the season or next year. But, the 2025 Bears offense with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, probably won't be as good as it will be next year, assuming, Caleb does good, well enough this year where they plan on him being the guy next year, which I've said over and over. It would have to be an absolute disaster this year for him to not get 2026 as well. So it's a process. It's a journey. We'll dive into it further, but appreciate the super chat, Jay. If you guys want to help us out, if you're a diehard Bears fan, hit that like button. We got 350 people watching, only 42 likes. Let's get those like numbers up so more Bears fans can find this video, as it'll kind of signal the YouTube algorithm and Bears fans will find this stream. We would greatly appreciate it, because here's what we got coming up here on today's stream. Early training camp winners and losers. 5 practices are in the books, so want to dive into that. Plus an injury update within that segment coming up, so stay tuned. We will take your questions. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions answered. If you Super Chat, guaranteed to get on the show. Hashtag Bears is another good way to get your question answered as well. And to that last Super Chat, should we pump the brakes on the Caleb hype for 2025? It's a tough balance when you're looking at short-term versus long-term. So we got a lot to discuss here on Chicago Bears Now. Happy Monday. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm Harrison Graham. Let's take a look at some early Bears training camp winners and losers, as we are 5 practices into camp. 1 padded practice, 4 non-padded practices. So it's very early. Things are going to change a lot, but there's enough early information to go off on that we can take a look at some standouts and some guys who haven't quite stood out as much. Let's start with Rome Odunze, as the second-year receiver somehow manages to fly under the radar, because obviously he was in the same draft with Caleb, who was the number 1 pick, and the quarterback's obviously always going to steal the spotlight, and DJ Moore's on this team. But Rome Odunze is a big-time talent who needs to have a big year. Period, point blank, into story. Had a solid rookie year, but needs to take a big jump and be at least the clear number 2 receiver on this team. If not, maybe challenge DJ to be the top guy. And he's had a good camp so far. Caleb has targeted him a lot. They've used him a lot in jump ball situations, which is a really big strength of his. He caught 72% of contested catch balls last year as a rookie, so that is something he already does exceptionally well. We all saw a couple of practices ago, Caleb and the starting offense ended a 2-minute drill with kind of a back shoulder jump ball fade to Rome that he was able to high point and haul in the corner of the end zone. So I expect him to be utilized a lot, and you're certainly seeing that early on in training camp. So arrow pointing up when it comes to Rome Odunze's stock. Who do you guys think is going to be the wide receiver 1 this year? And you can base that on whatever you want, whether it's stats or just overall ability this year. Who gets featured more? Type DJ for DJ Moore, RO for Rome Odunze. I think you could go either way. I think both guys are going to be heavily involved. All right, Ozzy Trapilo, as we take a look at the rookie offensive tackle out of Boston College. He's a winner as well. We talked about this on our earlier episode Monday morning after the first padded practice, that I do think it's at least somewhat notable that he started the first training camp practice without pads with the first team offense at left tackle, and the first padded practice he got the first crack with the first team offense before Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji rotated in with the ones as well. Obviously, this is a 3-man competition, and I don't think we're near a conclusion by any means, especially considering we're only 1 padded practice in. But my gut instinct tells me that Trapilo has the early slight edge, and I do think slight. I put lead in air quotes there, because it's just we don't have enough to go off on. But I do think you can kind of take these little tidbits like, oh, he got the first crack with the starters the first day, and the first day with pads he got the first crack with the starters. So I do think they're kind of leaning into Ozzy, and they want to give him a shot to win this job. And so far, he's held his own in that regard. I do think all 3 guys are still in this competition. I think we're far from a resolution, but I like what I've seen and heard from Ozzy Trapilo so far. How about Grady Jarrett, the seasoned vet who the Bears were able to sign in NFL free agency? He stood out in the first padded practice as well, generated multiple pressures against the Bears starting offensive line. He looked the part before the pads came on as well, but he's a guy, trenches play really starts to get evaluated once the pads go on. So again, we're talking about one padded practice, but I think just in terms of his intangibles, his leadership, what he's bringing to this team off the field, but also he could still play. I don't think this is some Udonis Haslem situation where he's just a rah-rah guy. Like, I think he's going to be productive on game days, on Sundays. And listen, if he's still a good player, Gervon Dexter, if he continues to ascend after last year, you could have multiple interior disruptors at that defensive tackle position, which is important if you're not going to get consistent pressure off the edge. Obviously, we're hoping Montez Sweat bounces back. We'll see what Dio Adengbo can do, but to know Passanio got injured earlier today, unclear what his status is moving forward. We've talked about the lack of depth at edge, but you could make up for some of that in terms of pass rush consistency with guys up the middle, and if Jarrett and Dexter can provide that, that would be huge. Tremaine Edmunds, we've talked about him a little bit. Dennis Allen called him a dynamic playmaker, expects him to fit in well in this defense. The first play of training camp, he picked off Caleb Williams in the first team drill, so he's been making plays dating back to OTAs, and I said it. We're hopeful that this new scheme benefits Tremaine, who obviously has a hell of a skill set. He's 6'5", 250, athletic profile off the charts. The instincts have been questionable, though. He's not the most instinctive player, but maybe this defense allows him to play faster and to play with more violence and consistency. And it would be a huge boost if he elevated his game next to TJ Edwards, who's kind of just Mr. Consistent. So we'll continue to monitor Tremaine, but it's been a good first week for him for sure. All right, guys, appreciate all of our new subscribers. A lot of you new guys have been flying to the channel recently since training camp started. Shout out to all of you. We got Anthony, Andy, Ethan, Michael, Nicholas, several of you guys subscribing, King, Jax, Alex, Anthony, Greg, 23, Jane in there as well, and a whole lot more. We're going to start giving out shout-outs here on the channel periodically throughout training camp because we're able to see who our newest subscribers are. So appreciate all of you. If you want to shout out, hit that subscribe button. But more importantly, if you want free and daily Bears content, I can't shout everybody out, shout out as many as I can, but if you want free content, we got you covered. Hit that subscribe button today. Okay, our last camp winner, at least standout winner before we get to some honorable mentions, DeAndre Swift. I like where he's at right now. Even just in like the little drills that the running back group does with Eric Bieniemy, he's notably quicker than the other guys. And he's got juice, man, especially in open space, which we know that. But if he can become a little bit more consistent between the tackles, a little bit more decisive as a runner, I like that Ben Johnson said that Swift has taken last year personal, did not like how last year went. Seems like he's playing with the chip on his shoulder, as is the rest of this running back room, according to Ben Johnson. But even in a quote-unquote down year in a bad offense, he was behind a bad offensive line, by the way, he was still pretty damn productive this year. If the O-line is markedly improved, which we expect it to be, if the scheme is a better fit, which we expect it to be, and if Swift just plays a little bit better like he's capable of, I mean, could he rush for 1,100 yards and catch for 400? Like, is a 1,500-yard season a possibility? I mean, I wouldn't rule it out given the other backs in this room and just the pieces around him and the overall offensive philosophies that are going to be deployed here. He looks even quicker to me, too. He's catching the football a lot. I just think he's going to be featured in this offense, which, they paid him to be that a couple of off seasons ago. So I'm excited about where he's at. It's early on, obviously, but, he's the lead back in that room right now, and he's certainly going to get a notable workload, I would anticipate. Just some honorable mentions here. J.P. Richardson, he's kind of been that training camp darling so far. He stood out even today in one-on-ones, was able to get open a couple of times. He just a savvy player is the word I would use. Good route runner. Richard Hightower said he'll be in the mix at punt return, and that's kind of the path to the roster. If he could win the punt return job and then be a backup slot receiver, that's how you get onto the 53. Colston Loveland has only practiced in team drills twice, but he looks the part, made several more catches today. Roshan Johnson and Kyle Monungai pushing each other for that RB2 job. Both have had their moments. Nashawn Wright at corner has worked with the ones quite a bit with Jalen Johnson out. And Jaquan Brisker, he's been back. He's been healthy. Got through the first padded practice, no issues per reports, and looks good. So definitely excited to see him back out there this year. Okay, a few early camp losers. We're still kind of in the early parts of camp. It's hard to find guys who, kind of disappoint. And a lot of the guys who fall into the loser category, unfortunately, are just guys who get banged up. And that is Shamar Turner, who obviously was dealing with an injury in the pre-draft process. Now he's injured again, dealing with an ankle injury. And Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune reported that he's probably going to be out at least a month, that the Bears are bracing for him to be out for at least 4 weeks. So the good news for Chicago is outside of edge, they're actually a lot deeper at defensive tackle with Dexter, Jarrett. You've obviously got Andrew Billings, Chris Williams, who I thought had some good moments last year, Jonathan Ford. I mean, even a guy like Zach Pickens, he's been around. That could open up a opening for him, by the way, to potentially make this roster, whereas I felt like Pickens was on the outside looking in. So you've got depth at that position. It's just a bummer, though, because this guy is really talented, and I think defensive linemen, it takes longer for those guys to develop and really get up to speed, and missing these practices are pretty critical. Like Luther Burden, I'm not saying he's going to be fully up to speed, but wide receiver, you can catch up a lot quicker than you can, in my opinion, from a defensive tackle standpoint, because a lot of that is just the physicality of the NFL as well, on top of just learning all the stunts and different things that Dennis Allen is asking. So I do think this kind of should lower any expectations that we had for what he's going to do his rookie year, at least somewhat, because A, he's already behind a few guys, and B, he's now going to miss some critical reps. I mean, out at least a month, that probably means he's not playing in any of the preseason games, whereas I think he's a guy who probably would have played a lot in those games. So that's definitely a bummer, but still excited about his future. Still feel good about the defensive tackle group, but he's going to miss some time. So that's the latest on Shamar Turner. All right, we do have some Bears cutoff hoodies. Still a few left. Chatsports.com/Bears hoodie. Incredible deal that Fanatics has been running, and it's still 40% off. It was $55 to get one of these. Now they're just $33. Limited time only, limited in stock. Take advantage. Chatsports.com/Bears hoodie. Click and shop today. Okay, Luther Burden III. Now, this is kind of twofold because he did return to practice on Monday for the first padded practice, so I do think the arrow is pointing up. That's a good sign. We're obviously excited to have him back in the fold, but he missed all of OTAs. He missed mandatory minicamp. He missed the first 4 practices at training camp. In the first practice he returned, he did individual work, but he's not yet doing team drills, so a lot of catching up to do. Now, Colston Loveland has kind of shown you can play catch-up pretty quick if you hit the ground running, so we'll see if Luther Burden can do that. Hopefully, by next week, he's kind of going more full throttle, full participation, and is getting some opportunities with the first-team offense. I do think he's behind the 8 ball, though. If you played a game today, even if fully healthy, I would expect Olamide Zaccheaus to start over him. But the good news is plenty of time. It's not even August yet. Still feel good about him being back and being out there with the pads on. So definitely not sour on Luther Burden. I just think it's fair. Like, up to this point, he just hasn't been out there much. So I think he does fall into this category. How confident are you in Luther Burden for this year? Like, do you still have big expectations for his rookie year? Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not confident at all, can't trust him, 10 being extraordinarily confident. I'd be like a 5 or 6. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic, but there's a lot of weapons, a lot of mouths to feed, and somebody or a pair of these guys between the receiver, running back, and tight end position are probably going to get less opportunities than others. And right now, he's probably in that category, just given the lack of practice time. Some other Bears injuries just wanted to outline, which kind of, puts them behind the 8 ball a little bit. Doug Kramer, he's day-to-day, doesn't sound too serious, but obviously, in the mix on the roster bubble to be a backup interior offensive lineman. Are they going to use him in a fullback role again? I'm not sure. Jalen Johnson on NFI. For me, it's like put him on ice until a week and a half before week 1. Just be ready to go against Minnesota. Don't need to see him in the preseason. And then Zay Frazier, who, again, is dealing with the personal issue, so we're not going to speculate. But the fact is, when you miss out on these reps, you fall behind. So that is certainly a situation to monitor as well. And then the last camp loser, I think you have to put Dio Adengbo in this category. Didn't hear much about him before the pads went on. And then the one note I've seen with the pads on, 1 day in, it's not a huge deal, but so far this is what we have. Clay Harbor said this. He said, Dio Odengbo didn't stand out in one-on-ones. He's very stout versus the run, can hold the point, but it's tough to see him becoming a big-time pass rusher. Hashtag the Bears, yada, yada, yada. He's just a player to me. When they paid him what they did, $16 million per year on a 3-year deal, it's basically a 2+1. And when you see all this money that's exploded, it really, I know everybody freaked out of money, and some still are. It's not some huge detrimental contract. I don't think we should view this as some guy who all of a sudden is going to be a 12-sack player. Can he give you 6 to 8 sacks and be a good edge setter in the run game? That's what I would be shooting for. I just don't know how high the ceiling is. He's big, he's physical, but you know who he kind of reminds me of? A guy I didn't love in this draft, Shamar Stewart, who he looks the part in terms of his build, but he doesn't really have a variety of pass rush moves. He's kind of just a bull rusher who plays with power, and he's actually more effective as a pass rusher when they kick him inside because he can use his quickness against guards and centers. So, again, I think he's a high floor player, limited ceiling. He's good. I think he can be a good player, but if we're expecting this guy to, be top 10 or 20 in sacks in the NFL, I'd be pretty surprised if he reached double-digit sacks. His career high is 8. If you told me today, hey, you could sign up for 8 sacks, I would absolutely sign that piece of paper. And then what about Caleb, you ask? Well, I don't think it's really fair to put him in either category. Obviously, he's been swimming uphill so far. They are throwing a ton on his plate. We are going to outline this further on another episode if you're watching live on Monday or later in the week, depending on when you watch. Some reporting from Albert Breer, comments from Ben Johnson and Declan Doyle, and it's been improving. I would say through the first 3 days, he would have fallen clearly in the loser category just based on it being sloppy, but the last 2 have been better. So that's a good sign. Certainly far from a finished product, not even close. If you had to pick, you'd probably put it in the loser category, but I think it's been a mixed bag, and given the context of what they're having him do and the amount of installs and just different looks they're giving him in terms of testing how much he can just absorb from a mental capacity standpoint, I think there's enough positives there so far because they're just throwing the kitchen sink at him, and they'll scale it back when they get closer to week 1 when they figure out, okay, this is what he can do, this is what he can do. Okay, we'll keep this in there. That was good enough. That stuff, though, let's scrap that. That was not well executed. They'll do that as we get closer to week 1. I think the point here is, before we dive into it more on another video, is clearly we need to see growth. It's got to improve throughout the course of the season, but patience is still required here. As hard as that is to hear as Bears fans, as we all want to see him ball out, and we all want to see this team win a lot of games. And by the way, I still think this team can win games even if he's going through some growing pains, so keep that in mind. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now, early camp winners and losers. We'll do this periodically throughout training camp, probably one more time before the first joint practice, and then we'll focus on those as they have a joint practice against Miami and Buffalo. My name is Harrison Graham. See you next time here on Bears Now. All right, a couple more segments to go, including our mailbag. So if you want to get a question in, hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions answered on the show. Fire away. We got 500 people watching, so get those questions in.
Ben and All Motor, we do see your Super Chats. I figured we might as well just keep those in on the mailbag.
Yeah, we'll answer those in the mailbag.
But if you guys want a guaranteed spot in the mailbag, it is Super Chat. Otherwise, you're up to the mercy of me. So,
also, shout out to Ben for being our top fan today, 550 XP points. We'll try on Thursday to kind of lean into that a little more and kind of explain what that means. There's just a lot going on with training camp and stuff right now. So, but we'll make that happen on Thursday, hopefully. But hashtag Bear Super Chat, seeing a lot of questions come in, so a little more competitive to get on the show. So make sure they're good questions, and also. Again, a guarantee to get on the show is if you do send in a super chat. So we'll be sure to get it to as many of you guys as we can. But those are the guarantee ways to get on the show. As Benjamin sends in a super chat, we'll get to him in there as well. But appreciate all the questions. Colin, I think we probably have enough to
Yeah,
this
I
thing
think
rolling,
we're ready to go.
coming up in like 15 minutes or so, we'll talk more about Caleb Williams from a lot of different angles, so stay tuned for that. But we'll hop into our mailbag segment first. Hashtag Bear Super Chat, get those questions in. Burden Fever kicks off our Chicago Bears Now mailbag. My name is Harrison Graham. He asks, with the Bears losing Shamar Turner for at least a month, should we sign Christian Wilkins? Well, a lot going on with Wilkins. Not sure how much you guys have been following the news, but he was cut by the Raiders late last week, or early last weekend, late last week. Here are some bullet points as we're filming this mailbag live on Monday. There could certainly be new info by the time you're watching this. Number one, it's pretty obvious he is not currently healthy. Now, I think the debate between him and the Raiders medical staff is how severe is the foot injury, because the Raiders were pushing for him to get a surgery that they felt he needed. He refused to do so, and eventually they cut him. And then since then, some more rumors have been flying around of potential behavioral stuff, things in the locker room. Adam Schefter reported that he playfully kissed a teammate on the top of his head, and that was not received well. And then Pro Football Talk said that is not the story he has heard. So is there some kind of scandal going on? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that. Obviously, Christian Wilkins is a very good player. That's why he signed for a bunch of money with the Raiders a couple of off seasons ago. And yeah, Shamar Turner's out, but I think the Bears are okay at defensive tackle right now. Like if you sign Christian Wilkins, let's say he's fully ready to go. What is like your rotation flow? Are you going Wilkins and Dexter, then Jarrett, your number 3, Billings your 4? Like you're almost like, you never want to say you can have too many defensive linemen, because you certainly can't. But to me, I'd rather try to get an edge. Like that's a bigger need. I just don't. I think with all the angles, all things going on, and just given the fact that the Bears are pretty deep at defensive tackle, what would the money be? I don't even know. And most importantly, I just don't think he's healthy. Like if the Raiders medical staff thought he needed a surgery, even let's say he doesn't, he's going to be ready for week 1. That seems unlikely. So I would be pretty surprised if the Bears signed Christian Wilkins, to be frank. But I certainly understand the fan appeal, because he's a talented player when he is healthy and on the field. Should the Bears sign Christian Wilkins? What do you guys think? Type S for sign or P for pass. This would almost feel more like a next offseason, like let's say he just takes this year off, has the surgery, clears up, and you can kind of buy low on a guy who's been hurt the last 2 years. I could see that. Right now, though, I think I'm passing on Christian Wilkins. All right, let's fly through some Super Chats. Appreciate the 10 from Ben. He says, hey, Harrison, thoughts on summary quick recap videos of recent Bears seasons to set up the Caleb Ben era? Wish I could watch all of your videos, but family and work keep me busy. Keep doing your thing. Well, in some ways, my crash out videos and my best moments video that I put out kind of summarize the last few years a little bit, but don't hate that idea. Maybe we could do that between like the end of camp and preseason before week 1, because people forget there's like a 2-week gap there. So there could be a little bit of downtime there, but we'll see. Right now there's a lot going on with training camp and everything, updates every day. So don't hate the idea, and definitely appreciate the Super Chat. Johnny, glad to hear the O-line had a good day. From what I've heard, all of the starting offensive linemen won their one-on-ones. Yeah, I mean, look, this offensive line on paper should be pretty good. I also think that this defensive line, especially the edge group, might leave a lot to be desired. I think Montez Sweat will at least be better than last year. Will he be dominant? That might be a stretch. Dio Dengbo was getting stonewalled, it sounded like. I just think the O-line, which is weird to say, is better than the D-line. So I think the offensive line is going to be pretty good. Are they going to be top 5 unit in the league? Got to see it to believe it, but I am cautiously optimistic there. All right, Bears fans, we got coverage all year long. We cover the latest news, rumors, daily training camp updates, injury news as well. We take your questions, trade rumors that are out there. We cover it all. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. Rome season, hashtag Bears. Could we bring back Cordero Patterson after the Steelers cut him? So the Steelers did cut him, former Bear, on Monday. He actually had a funny tweet about it. Said, "Alert! Pittsburgh cut washed-up Cordero Patterson, which is himself, obviously." I was actually curious. I was like, "What did he do last year?" Just did not have a lot of opportunities. Right? He averaged 4.2 yards per carry, but only had 32 carries, had 12 catches. Still a good kick returner. I like Cordell. In fact, I love him as a personality and as a guy, and I think he can still be a relatively decent role player. But where does he fit on this team? Like, he's not a natural running back, so I mean, is he better than Roshan Johnson or Kyle Monangai there? Probably not. Could he be like your fourth back? You cut Travis Homer, keep him for special teams value, kick returner, throw him the ball occasionally. I guess you could do that, but he is like 33 now. I just don't think he adds that much, to be completely honest. He doesn't return punts. He's only a kick returner on special teams. That has its limitations as well. I think a running back injury would have to occur. Like if Roshan went down, I'd be much more open to this idea because it gives you another body in there that can compete. But I think as much as I'd be open to upgrading at running back behind DeAndre Swift, I don't think Cordero is that. I think Roshan and Monangai are actually probably better than him at this point in time. Would you guys bring back Cordero Patterson? Certainly likable guy. Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm probably going to pass here, but let me know what you guys think. Benjamin, would a 10-7 record with Caleb taking a step forward but no playoff berth still be a success this year? I would say so. I mean, if you win 10 games and just the NFC's loaded and you get squeezed out and Caleb plays better, takes a step forward, you feel good about him heading into 2026. I mean, am I supposed to bitch if they win 10 games, Caleb plays well, and they miss the playoffs? I mean, it would suck, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't have any, like, overarching complaints. Like, I'd feel pretty good about the direction. And, look, we saw that last year. Producer Collins' Seahawks won 10 games and missed the playoffs. So the NFC's deep now. So certainly could happen, certainly possible. But if this improves and they double their win total, miss the playoffs, I mean, sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. Super chat from Noah, appreciate the 10. He says, "Sup, Harrison, the season is around the corner. Can't freaking wait. By the way, your crash out videos were hilarious. Gonna need more of those." It'd be great if we had no more of those. Don't get me wrong. It's, it creates for some virality, and that's certainly not a bad thing for someone in my profession. But I'd much rather have some, like, positive crash outs, if you will. Some walk-off field goals against the Packers in games that mean a little bit more than the one did last year. So, but knowing this team, knowing this franchise, I'm sure there will be plenty more to come in the years ahead, and we'll certainly provide those for you guys. All right, predict the Bears' record this year. Our friend a minute ago said 10-7 would be good. I agree. That would certainly be nice. Let us know what your predictions are. Am I way too early? I did 10 or 11 wins. I might do it one more time before the season starts, so stay tuned for that. Soldier Bear 85, anything on Tyler Scott, and are there underwhelming players so far through all of training and practices? I think, like, it's easier to kind of see who's doing well than who's doing poorly early on in camp, because what's all the tweets? What's all the reporting? Well, the reporting is like the stuff that stands out, right? There's not a lot of reporting of, like, haven't seen Tyler Scott today, but I will say this, I haven't heard his name much. So, like, that would lean me to think that probably is more on the negative side of things. Haven't heard a ton of Devin Duvernay either. I know he had one catch in a 2-minute drill a couple days ago, a big play from Caleb on a scramble drill. So that's a positive for him. He's probably the guy to beat in the punt return competition. But quite frankly, we've heard more from J.P. Richardson than we have from Tyler Scott. So time will tell. I liked Tyler coming out. I thought he had moments as a rookie, but he didn't play hardly at all last year. So he's one of those guys where the clock's ticking. He's got to prove his value if he's going to make the 53. Skeptor 211, do you think Ozzy or Braxton Jones, whoever doesn't win that battle, becomes a sixth lineman if Ben calls in extra protection or maybe even a trick play? Yeah, certainly possible. I mean, they did that a lot with, who's the guy in Detroit? Dan Skipper. They used him a lot as a sixth lineman in jumbo packages. A couple different trick plays. Remember the infamous Lions-Cowboys game a couple years ago where there was issue where Dan Skipper didn't report when he went on the field or something like that. The Doug Kramer thing last year. So yeah, I do think that one of those extra tackles, Kron Amagaji, could be utilized in jumbo packages as well as an extra body. So yeah, I would imagine that there are certain situations who the odd man out in that left tackle competition still finds a way to get on the field some. Alex Amerling with the super chat. He says, I like that Ben was using DJ as a running back today. Yeah, I want to see DJ Moore line up out of the backfield every once in a while. A couple plays a game, run some angle routes with him, kind of that Texas route out of the backfield. We've all played Madden where it's kind of one of these. Pretty unstoppable in the video game. I mean, DJ Moore matched up on a linebacker or a safety on a Texas route. I would love that. Luther Burden, too, to be frank. I'd love to see that. So, yeah, I'd like to move those guys around. I mean, DJ lined up in the backfield some last year even, so I would expect that they do that on occasion. We all saw the clip of the kind of half-speed trick play that they seem to be trying to install today where they tossed it to DJ, who threw it back to Caleb, and then downfield to Zacchaeus. So, they could be expanding what they're doing in week 2 of training camp. But yeah, I've always liked the idea of throwing twitchy receivers into the backfield on obvious passing downs and just give the defense another mismatch. I mean, imagine DJ at running back or Luther, either or, Colston Loveland at tight end, and then Rome and Zacchaeus on the outside. I mean, that's a lot of different things you have to account for on an individual play. All right, appreciate all of your questions. If you have any more, find me on social media. DMs are open at HGramNFL on Instagram and on Twitter. Happy to answer those questions over there. Again, these mailbags are live every Monday and Thursday for you guys, and that's when you can get your questions answered on the show. Bear down.
Just catching unnecessary strays in the mailbag.
Oh, the Seahawks? Yeah. Sorry, buddy.
Eesh.
I could have just said the Seahawks and not Cullen's Seahawks. Would that have landed softer?
Just we don't need to bring it up. How about that? No, that's all good. All good.
I was just adding context. It happens.
Yeah, you're doing your journalistic duty.
Never forget when the 11-5 Matt Castle Patriots didn't make the playoffs.
Very true. Very true. All right, we got John saying 9-8. We got Stefan saying 11-6. Mike says high of 11-6 and 7-10 low, so he gives you like a range there.
7 to 11 win range. I do think the Bears are a relatively high variance team.
Yes.
Like, I could see them going 7-10. I could also see them winning like 12 games. I would guess somewhere in the middle, but yeah, I do think they're a higher variance team than a lot of others. So,
yeah. All I'm saying is if they somehow win 5 games again next year, like
it's going to be brutal.
Something's wrong.
Channel might it might be over. I might have to do something else with my life.
Oh man.
Mostly kidding. We'll be here no matter
Mostly
what.
kidding. What up, Walter?
What's good, Walter? Appreciate you guys tuning in. Good audience today.
Yeah,
we're getting closer, man. Football Thursday. Hall of Fame game.
Thursday, dude.
It's electric.
Can't wait. Which means
wait.
Yeah,
it's going to be horrific football, but it's going to be on the TV.
Exactly.
Will you watch all 4 quarters?
I probably will. And I'm not going to lie, like, it's just because of the necessity of, like, am I going to watch every preseason game, like, minute by minute? No, but just because it's the Hall of Fame game, like, and we
it is the Lions, so that gives me a little intrigue. Now, Dan Campbell already doesn't really play as starters in the preseason. Yeah. I can't even imagine. Are they going to play a single player that'll make the team? I mean, like,
probably not.
Maybe a few, like, rookies or something, but.
Now, will I be actively watching for all 60 minutes? Yeah.
It might be more like background.
Yeah, background noise or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, if either team has some, like, juicy. Like, Trey Lance with the Chargers, does he still have juice? They also have DJ Uiagalelei.
Yes, they do.
Is that preseason juice?
That is pure Twitter juice is what that is.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited to watch Hendon Hooker with the Lions.
Yeah.
He's got juice.
Yeah.
He's a preseason guy.
I don't know what he is off the injury, to be honest, but
I mean, the fact that they signed Teddy Bridgewater for the playoffs and he instantly leapfrogged Hooker kind of speaks volumes. Let's see. Does Amarian Hampton play a series? Give me one series, Harbaugh. Let's
know,
get a Marion out. Let's get him a couple carries.
I wouldn't mind it. People are saying do a watch party for it. For the
I
Hall
don't know
of
if
Fame
I'm
game.
there. If I did, honestly, I'd probably do it on 4 verts, which you guys could come hang out for.
Yeah. Do a watch party for the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
Stretching it.
Probably not. Probably not. It's tempting, but probably not.
Let me put up a poll real quick.
Oh boy.
Let me put up a poll.
If 51% or more say yes, they're gonna expect us to do it.
I'll put this. Would y'all watch a Hall of Fame game watch party?
Someone says just do the first half. I wouldn't hate that. If I did it, I'd probably do something like that. TBH.
Updating the poll. Again. Y'all vote.
These results would have to be overwhelming for me to even consider it.
That's what hey, we're giving them a chance. We're nothing but men of the people.
That is true. That is true.
So far, what percentage would you say it has to get to? Because right now it's about 2/3 either way.
I think it would have to be
yes.
85 for me to even consider it.
Okay. You heard the man. You heard him. Philip's got your back. He says, no, won't watch. Harrison needs a break.
Trying to save these reps for things that actually matter.
I mean, would you call this game like Bears Commanders Hail Mary, or would you just kind of more or less just
Hell no. I wouldn't even call the game. I would just be hanging out. Bears Commanders Hail Mary. Give me a break.
The fact that 2/3 of the poll, which
listen, they like our watch parties.
They do.
I don't blame them.
Shout out to y'all.
Put on a product.
Also, the fact that there's 442 watch and only 63 votes. Come on now. See, that's the part that's more doing
poor
to me.
ratio. Yeah,
that's
tough.
more the issue.
It's as easy as liking the video. It's one click. All right, we got a super chat from Say Quads Barkley.
Yeah, we'll get that loaded up. Mike says, Cullen, yes or no to my question. What was your question, Mike? I don't know.
Drink till you drop watch party. I do think if we did it, we would just, I don't know, we'd just have fun.
Yeah, it would just be, crapping on the Lions, maybe a little NFC North talk.
Every incompletion, take a drink, because there's going to be a lot.
I would be drunk. I would be sleeping on one of the new chairs we got for this studio.
Oh, yeah, I noticed those walking in.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't even know. Yeah, I guess I can't. We got some Walter Payton. How about this? I'll take a picture.
Here, send it to me.
We got some new artwork in the stew. I'm gonna send this to Cullen. Let's see if he can. Do you have to make a link?
If so, it won't take me long, but I don't think I will. So y'all
I guess I could tweet it out, and then there's a link, right?
Yeah. All right, here's Saquon Barkley. Would you rather have DJ Moore at his price point or Scary Terry at $33 million that he wants? Rather DJ. I don't think Terry's worth that much more than
Probably
DJ.
DJ's 2 years younger too. Probably DJ. I think Terry's probably a better route running traditional receiver, but DJ at $6 million cheaper per year. I think I would take DJ. If all was equal, I might lean Terry, especially now that you have Luther Burden.
Right.
Just because the skill set overlap with DJ, but all right, hang on here.
I gotcha. Well, I gotcha. Let me pull up your Twitter.
All right. It just went out, so you can grab that link.
Yeah.
We'll flash this on screen real quick, and then you guys can check it out.
Pretty sweet.
Check it out.
Bang, bang. If my mouse wants to work. But yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think if you want to make the argument that DJ Moore or Scary Terry's better than DJ Moore.
Terry definitely had a better year last year.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
But I don't know if he's worth that much more per year.
No.
Well,
I think if you added the last 2 years, you could make an argument that DJ's been a little more productive.
Yeah, look at that.
All right, not the best picture here that I took on my phone. Could have cropped it better, but little Walter Payton action in the studio.
Yeah. We're getting a little customizable.
Might even do some YouTube shorts in front of that. We'll get creative with it, but some of the studios getting some team specific artwork. So pretty cool stuff. Got Sweetness in the stew. Of course, a legend. So Yeah, stay tuned on how we could incorporate a look maybe with that in the show. You never know. But yeah, adding some new stuff in here. Gonna set up some other stuff. So stay tuned. Should be exciting.
Yeah, it's credit to you guys, right? I mean, we always said, like, hey, if we ever want to get our own studio spaces, it's due to the support from you guys. Well, now we have our own studio. And, we're able to set up stuff like this and get new chairs and all this other crazy stuff. And it's a credit to you guys. So thank y'all.
Helping us grow. Shout out to the real ones.
Absolutely. Shout out to y'all, man.
We appreciate it. All right, let's get to our last segment, and then we'll call it a day here on a busy Monday. A lot of hype, a lot of discussion around Caleb Williams entering year 2. But should we pump the brakes on expectations just a little bit? We'll talk about that next, coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. Should we as Bears fans pump the brakes on expectations for Caleb Williams in 2025? I am Harrison Graham, a former NFL quarterback and current analyst, believes that it could take Caleb Williams years to learn and fully master this offense, plus some more reporting on the Bears quarterback from Albert Breer and comments from Ben Johnson and Declan Doyle. A lot of different angles here. We're going to dive into it here on today's show. But I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from the people, the diehards, the decades-long Bears fans. What are your expectations for Caleb Williams this year? Maybe they're outlandish. Maybe you don't have high expectations. That's totally up to you. Fair or not, what are your expectations for Caleb this year? Go ahead and light up the comment section. Dan Orlovsky of ESPN, who has been known to have a take or two, but I do think he understands football well, poured some water on the idea that Caleb will fully take off in 2025. A lot of quotes on today's show that we're going to react to, so let's go ahead and get into it here. Here's what Dan had to say. He said, getting off the first progression and moving on, building in that timing, building in that rhythm, and then the placement of the throw. Again, being elite while you're playing within the rhythm of the pass game, that's the hiccup that's always been Caleb's. Back at OU, then to USC, then to his rookie year. Of course, it's fixable. But Chicago fans, it's not going to happen in September. He has to erase a decade worth of playing a certain style of football and rebuild the habits. It's going to take, candidly, years. Let's add some context because there was further conversation, and the way I took this was not that it's going to take years for Caleb Williams to be a good NFL quarterback, but Dan's take is that it will probably take years, plural, for him to master a Ben Johnson-type offense, which he is building around Caleb. It's not going to look exactly the same with Detroit, but the parts of the offense that are based on timing, throwing with anticipation, getting through multiple reads, which Caleb did at times last year, by the way, on multiple touchdown passes. But I think Dan is saying, listen, if you think by week 1 or week 2, Caleb is just going to be sitting in the pocket exclusively and dicing teams up, getting to second, third progressions consistently and throwing on time and on target, rep after rep after rep, that's probably unrealistic. And you know what? He's probably right. That was not Caleb Williams' game coming out of college. Doesn't mean he never did it at all. He has plenty of throws on his tape from college and from last year with the Bears where he did throw into tight windows on time, accurately with anticipation. But it's not like he's Tua. Now, the difference is Tua has to do that because he doesn't have the physical talents Caleb does. He can't afford to throw into tight windows very often because Tua kind of throws ducks. Like Josh Allen is not known for being an elite anticipatory thrower, but he has a rocket of an arm, obviously years and years of playing in the NFL, mobility, physical attributes where he can make up for not being an elite, anticipation throw. And obviously, I'm not comparing Caleb to Josh or anything, but every quarterback is different. But I think you can also expect, though, just because, he may not master being a true elite pocket quarterback, that doesn't mean we shouldn't have expectations of a notable uptick in production and just overall play from Caleb heading from year 1 to year 2. Ben Johnson had this to say recently because, Dan, he's an outsider. Obviously, he's not in the Bears building. Well, let's listen to the head coach, the architect, the guy brought in to get Caleb going. He said, there really isn't a ton of carryover from what he was asked to do with the play calls or anything of that nature going from his rookie year to now. He's always been very comfortable as a shotgun quarterback. He's very comfortable with tempo type plays. So now we're asking him to be a little bit more structured. Sometimes there's multiple calls, there's shifts, there's motions, there's going to be there's more going on mentally than probably there's ever been for him. At some point, this thing will start slowing down and he's going to catch up and his physical ability will take over. But right now, because mentally it is what it is, he's playing a little bit more slower than what he's capable of. Cliff notes, they're throwing a shit ton of information at him, and when you do that in anything in life, what do? You think, and that slows you down a little bit when it's time to actually execute the job. That's like anything else in life. Like when you're in med school, you're probably not doing a complex surgery effectively, 3 weeks into your first semester of medical school. But when you're in residency, you're probably going to be more comfortable and ready to do that. We've heard this for a while now. This is not an easy offense to master. Doesn't mean it's not going to be a QB-friendly offense. Doesn't mean it's not an effective offense. It means that, not to nitpick here and go after Jaden Daniels, who's clearly ahead of Caleb Williams right now, that's an easier offense with Cliff Kingsbury. A lot of college concepts, mostly shotgun. It just is. Ben Johnson is a much more pro style, a lot of under center, play action, stuff like that. Stuff that Caleb just quite frankly hasn't done a lot of. More from Dan here. Ben Johnson rocket shipped with Jared Goff. Jared Goff took 4 or 5 years of the NFL and building that footwork part of his game up, and so it's not like it's going to be impossible in October, November, December. It's just going to take time. So I was like, you know what? I'm actually interested. Ben Johnson took over as the Lions play caller and offensive coordinator in 2022. Let's go look at Jared Goff's season that year, because he's obviously had 3 good seasons in a row. Well, look at his first 8 games compared to the last 9 that year. First 8, 62.9% completion. Okay, it's about what Caleb was last year, 62.5. 2,000 pass yards, 2-to-1 TD interception ratio, good, but nothing crazy. 91.8 QB rating, good, nothing crazy. Took 13 sacks. Last 9 games, though, 67%, almost 2,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, QB rating of 106, took less sacks and 1 extra game. It started to click. And that's from a guy who had a lot of success with Sean McVay and had played under one of the best play callers in the league. So what's the point of showing that? Well, even an established veteran needed time to get more comfortable in this offense. Now, does that mean that Caleb by game 9 really needs to hit the ground running? I don't know. I don't know what's reasonable and fair to expect about Caleb, but Jared Goff, obviously, once it clicked, found an even new height in his career. 2022, really good season when you add it all up. 2023 was better from start to finish, obviously, because he had felt really good in the offense. Last year, it felt like he mastered the offense. Look at the accuracy. Look at the overall results. He reached new heights under Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson helped Jared Goff get to a place that he never got to under Sean McVay. But it took time. It did not happen overnight. Now, I think Caleb is a physically more talented player than Jared Goff, which is why there's reasons to be optimistic. He adds a mobile component that Jared Goff did not add as well. And I'll admit, when I hear all this stuff, especially from the head coach of the team, who knows a hell of a lot more about his quarterback than I do, it makes it tough. It makes it tough for me to analyze, for fans to analyze, because we always want to put a timetable on things. At one point, do we need to see clear, good results? You'd like to see it right away. That may not be realistic. That may not be fair, because Ben Johnson said himself, yeah, not a lot to carry over from last year. Like, he said it. The head coach, who we all have a lot of trust and faith in, is like, yeah, there's just not a ton to take away from last year. Sure, the reps are valuable. He's seen NFL defenses for 17 games, but he is being challenged mentally way more than he ever has been. So it's a challenge for me to balance short-term versus long-term. I'm going to do my best to be fair, yet critical, because, listen, you're the number 1 pick. It's year 2. It still needs to be better than last year. But if you're expecting a top 5 quarterback in the league, you're probably going to be punting on Caleb Williams then, because I don't know if by the end of this season we're going to be like, yeah, he's a top 5 guy in the league. I've said it. If he's a top 12 guy by the end of this season, I think it's like, okay, you're in a good direction. Top 10, you're thrilled. even top 15 or 16, though, it's like, okay, that's clear progress from where he was from his rookie year, especially if, like, from week 1 to week 18, it's like, okay, he clearly got a lot better throughout the season. So I think it's just one of those things. We'll kind of know it as it goes. We'll know it when we see it. We'll see if there's clear growth or not, whereas it was kind of just a choppy roller coaster as in his rookie year. This year, I think we'll know by week 18, okay, was this clearly better than how it felt in weeks 1, 2, 3, September? If the answer is yes, then I think we're heading in the right direction. This is why you subscribe to the channel. I'm going to give you my fair and honest Bears opinions on a daily basis. May not always be right, but I'm going to tell you what I'm feeling in the moment. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and never miss out. More to break down when it comes to Caleb Williams. A lot of angles here today, but get yourself a cutoff hoodie right now at chatsports.com/Bears hoodie. 40% off. These were $55. Now they are $33. Pick one up today, chatsports.com/Bears hoodie. Okay, more on the Bears approach with Caleb Williams. Albert Breer was at Bears training camp last week, got a lot of information in terms of how the Bears are attacking this thing with Caleb and his development. Here's what he had to say. The idea was to have him drinking from a fire hose in the spring, keep the load on him to start camp, and then begin to narrow the offense down to what Johnson, offensive coordinator Declan Doyle, and the staff thinks he does best. Getting there is just a process. And I like that approach. Starting in OTAs, hell, before that, just with early conceptual stuff before they meet in official team capacity. Throw the kitchen sink at them. Continue that into training camp. Yeah, it might lead to struggles, and first few practices of camp weren't great, but you've seen it get better. And then toward the end of training camp, and when you get closer to week 1, figure out as a staff, mostly Ben Johnson, and then with Declan and some other assistants, okay, what do we feel he does really well? Let's for sure keep that in. What do we think he does pretty well? What do we think he does, maybe not great right now, but we think throughout the course of the season we could incorporate some of that stuff? What does he do poorly? We're probably scrapping that this year. We'll try to add that next year. Because even going back to Goff in Detroit and that offense, from the first year in 2022 to 2024, it got markedly better, and they added more stuff as time went on. I think they view this as like, hey, we all want to win games right now, short term, and we're going to try to do that by dumbing it down. But we're also thinking big year, like how does this look good for the next 5 to 10 years as well? Take what you can do well now, but still store some of that other stuff for later in the season, in the future, stuff to add to this offense. I think some notable dates to keep an eye on here. Obviously, you got the preseason games, the final camp practice in there on August 20th as we approach the month of August here. Then obviously the opener against Minnesota on September 8th. This is just a guess in terms of what their timeline and potential plan is. I would guess as the preseason, you get ready for that third game and training camp start to come to a close, that is when these meetings will take place. Like, okay, guys, we had 12 installations and 65 plays. I just throwing numbers out. I don't know. Which plays we want to keep, which concepts do we want to keep, what do we feel Caleb did really well, other players did well as well. It's not just Caleb, obviously, but obviously things that Caleb can't execute. What did he not do well in? And let's kind of build the playbook around that, and this is what we're rolling with, at least early on this year. I think that, kind of 10 days left in August on into September is when you kind of narrow that down, because you get into that last week in August, you're game prepping for Minnesota. And then part of that discussion as well, based on the playbook you've kind of built for this year, is, okay, what in this playbook do we feel can we exploit in Brian Flores' defense in week 1, and then Detroit's defense in week 2, and so on and so forth. So I think that's kind of what you're looking at, and I think that's a good plan. And as years go on, if Caleb is the guy, you can add more and more to his plate, because like anything else, the more you do it, the more you can absorb. And then I thought Declan Doyle had some interesting notes as well, because remember that day where Montez Sweat seemingly came unblocked a couple of times and threw off a couple of plays? Well, that was by design. Doyle said that was very intentional. That's trying to get our defensive pressures in against some of the stuff that we're trying to do offensively. We have contingency plans for what they are going to bring at us. So the quarterback operating, getting the offense on the same page as far as checking plays, checking protections, things like that. But that's all a part of the scripted practice, is trying to get the defense right with their pressure patterns and the way they're going to play coverage on the back end. And then it's getting our quarterbacks used to whether we're throwing the ball or up front handling the movement with those run schemes. So basically it's like, hey, let's make it even harder on Caleb. Not only are we throwing all these concepts at him, we're going to have a free rusher come here. Let's see how he handles that. I think one of them he threw the ball away, and the other time he took a sack. So, it's going to lead to some clear growing pains, but there's going to be plays where there's just a broken play, and you got to minimize damage, and you got to speed things up. Ben Johnson added that and said, yeah, these are just little exercises in way where we can speed up that clock a little bit. So I think it helps explain some of the early camp struggles, because they're designing some of this stuff intentionally to make it hard on Caleb, because you go through the challenges now. That way, once the season's here, hopefully he's better equipped to handle those chaotic situations. All right, fill in the blank. Caleb Williams will finish 2025 as a top blank NFL quarterback. At the end of the season, where is he in the pecking order? Is he top 10, top 15, 20? Is he outside the top 20? I would say he enters this year 21 to 25, somewhere in that range. Get me into the top 15 at least. Like that is what I want. Like, I think that's a fair expectation. If he's top half the league, that's good. If he's top 12, you're feeling really good. If he's top 10, I think you're thrilled. Like, I think those are kind of some benchmarks to look at. Top half, top 12, top 10. Those are all passable. Then obviously to really good when you get to top 10. If he's somewhere in the 18 to 20s range, that's probably not going to be a great spot heading into a pivotal 2026. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Now. Obviously, the focus is and will continue to be on number 18. We'll continue to break things down as they go throughout training camp. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button. Follow me on social media. See you guys soon. This one's for you, Cullen. When is Cullen getting his own team?
Great question. I will say this. For this upcoming season, I'm not going anywhere. So if you love me, I'm staying.
Let's go.
If you hate me, you can't get rid of me that easily. But, yeah, no. Look, I don't know, to be honest, is the best kind of answer to that. I enjoy working here at Bears Now, being producer with Harry. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully we have some more positive memories this season to reflect on. But either way, I mean, even through the 5-12 season, I think we still had some
we always managed to have fun.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more room on the more fun meter, if that makes sense. But, yeah, Cullen will be producing with us at least through this season, and you never know what the future could hold. So, I'm glad he's still here. So that's
there we go.
That's exciting, and Cullen seems happy to be working on this show. So
can confirm.
We're excited to have him here. So, yeah, you guys aren't getting rid of him anytime soon, but yeah, big season ahead. Cullen's going to be on board for it, which is very, very exciting. No question about it.
Soldier Bear says never leave. Well,
never is a long time.
It's a long time.
I can't even say I'll never leave. I will die one day.
Yes. At some point, we all must go. But, we're going to enjoy the moment, and we're going to crush it this season, and, yeah.
Kind of like with Caleb Williams. We got to balance short versus long term. Got to balance, with everything. We're keeping everything in mind. So
yeah, Walter, I'm going to hold you to that. By the way,
Dennis says Harry just produces the next guy up, kind of like Kyle Shanahan or Matt Eberflus.
You've had some pretty good ones. I'm not going to lie. If I'm the worst of, because I mean you've had Roley, Sam, and Jack. Those are three goats right there.
But Matt Eberflus and Kyle Shanahan have nothing in common. Other than they're both football coaches.
Oh, I thought, for whatever reason I read that, like Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. I've completely skipped the Matt Eberflus
what's the Flus?
Yeah. Next man up, Matt Eberflus.
Are you saying, Dennis, with Kyle Shanahan, it's like we're just plug and play at like it's is he calling you a system producer?
Ooh. Ooh.
Colin is not a system producer.
Yikes.
I can assure you that. Cullen is not assistant producer. But
Yikes.
I would like to think that
Yeah.
I'm pretty easy to work with. That's up for you guys to decide who have worked behind the scenes. But
Yeah.
I don't think I'm at the bottom of the list at hosts at Chat Sports.
Not even
in
close.
terms of working with.
Listen,
That's up for debate.
Listen, we're gonna continue to put the best show out there. Seriously, I mean, like, I don't know what duo in Bears history you could compare us to. Like, what would be
Jordan and Pippen?
well, I was saying in Bears history that you could compare us to. Like, what's
We,
the greatest duo in Bears history in y'all's opinion?
Well, they're such a defensive team. Are we like Urlacher and Briggs?
It's a good
It's
one.
like a recent one.
Yeah.
I'd take that. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't mind being the
No.
Briggs of the show. You could take Urlacher if you want.
I'm about to say, oh, you got the. I think you're the lead, so you definitely got to be Urlacher. But Alshon and Brandon Marshall. Okay. That's a good one.
That's fun.
Honestly, that's y'all's homework.
Probably more appropriate because, like those guys, this team hasn't won much. I think as a channel, we've won quite a bit.
Dennis says Rex and Grossman.
Oh boy. Don't put us in the same sentence with Rex Grossman. They go to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Kyle Orton guy myself.
There we go.
All right, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys tuning in. Dennis, I got you. Threw in Flus as a joke.
Smoking and Jay. Boom.
Yeah,
There we
I'm
go.
in. I'm in.
Matt Forte and DH.
Love it. Love it. All right, we are out of here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Another training camp practice tomorrow morning, so we will react to that. By the way, shout out to everybody tuning into those videos. A lot of engagement on those, so appreciate that, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.